The value of association events to the meetings and events sector cannot be understated, and was particularly apparent recently as they helped the whole industry through the global financial crisis. EIBTM this year and every year always reflects this importance with a very detailed and dedicated association programme. Martin, why are associations so crucial to the meetings and events industry?
Well, the association sector is a representation of the sheer volume of creativity that's happening in the scientific and medical field. What we're seeing is that there's still, despite the downturn, an enormous amount of progress in technology, in science, in all kinds of new discoveries. And this is actually creating not just demand for the established events, it's actually creating a whole range of newly emerging events, and it's very, very exciting to see what's happening in the sector. Just over a 12-month period, we found 800 new, regularly occurring international association events when we did a recent exercise. And in fact, when we looked at our overall database of over 16,000 regularly occurring events, we found that 2,500 of those were in their 4th edition or less. Now, what that really tells me is that there's an enormous growth in interest in these new events. Now, sometimes it's established subjects which are taking place in new regions, but more often it's actually entirely new events looking in areas of nanotechnology, biotechnology, all kinds of spin-offs in new materials, new ways of actually designing chips. If you look down the list of topics that these events are covering, your eyes are open to the enormous potential that this sector actually represents.
Corporates have been facing issues at the moment with respect to budget problems within the industry as a whole, and associations have always been very, very good at getting the maximum value for their events. So do you think that corporates can learn a lot from the association sector?
I think that what we've seen over a number of years is actually the associations becoming more like corporates in terms of their commercialization of their events. They're understanding that the content they're generating actually has commercial value, and they're starting to exploit that value. Increasingly, also on the corporate side, we're finding that they are becoming more like associations. And if you go to a really good corporate event nowadays, it looks much more like an association event. It's a community. It doesn't just involve the members or the people who work for that company. It involves their clients, their suppliers, thought leaders, commercial partners, venture capitalists. And so we're seeing the events are not merging, but they're learning from each other, and they're actually developing all kinds of interesting symbiotic relationships between themselves.
How important would you say is your relationship with the IBTM with respect to putting programs like this together?
Oh, it's absolutely essential. Reed have been business partners of ours since about 2003. And what it means is that we become co-creators of all kinds of programs which add value to our members. Ultimately, what we're aiming to do is to make sure that every ICCA member who exhibits at a Reed show gains some form of competitive advantage, whether that is in advanced information or networking events like the one we're at this evening, where they can really spend some quality time with key association buyers, in addition to the appointments that they've already made on the show floor. So for us, for our members, that's absolutely critical. In order to get good association buyers, it's not enough to simply say, here is a great exhibition where you're going to meet all of the people you want to do business with. Increasingly, these executives need to justify their time away from the office by also learning from one another. So having a good, solid education program for associations where they can not only hear some interesting topics, but can actually spend time networking with one another is very, very important. The networking that we organize here, we always try very hard not to overload it with too many suppliers, so that the clients, the associations actually have the space to learn from each other as well as to network with the suppliers.
Martin, thanks a lot for talking to us.
Well, I think it's important for us to find out what is happening in the association management and the event organizing world in these days, with technology changing and keeping up to date on it.
The association market is incredibly loyal, and if you treat your association customer well, they will stay with you. And in today's environment, that is absolutely crucial to any commercial business. It's a huge sector, but I would stress it is the loyalty of the sector. And if organisations who work with associations understand associations, and that's some of the work that I do with commercial organisations, is to understand associations, then they really can open up an incredibly valuable part of the events industry.